I kind of got to know you guys and stuff through Edith.
Oh really?
Yeah,
Okay.
because when I was a kid growing up in Manchester, like two of the girls that I most like admired work-wise were Edith
Okay.
and Faye Cotton.
Oh wow, there you go.
So, but years later, I think through like Instagram a few years ago, I discovered you and I was like, wow.
Oh, you discovered us through Instagram?
Yeah.
That's
the
modern was the modern way.
Yeah, that's the way it's done now these days.
Sound shit, but we look okay.
But you guys have been like going for 16 years, which is quite a while. Sure. I mean, we've got older members in the band.
Yeah.
And then we've got kids in the band.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, we went through a wobble and then these two joined, but now the wobble seems a long way away. I don't know, yeah, I'm proud of our longevity.
It's amazing.
Yeah, you know.
I mean, after 16 years.
Yeah, 6 records and we've always tried to do things differently and not do the same thing over and over again, and we get a bit uncomfortable if we feel like we're repeating ourselves, but we've lost some fans, gained some fans, and just, we're still here.
And how's like the whole thing, like with the records and stuff? I mean, over 6 years, like your lives have changed, I'm sure, and experiences and whatever. How do you feel that your music has changed within the six albums?
I mean, there's like a shift, isn't there, between trying to do things that are kind of more rock band orientated, and then introducing and embracing kind of more electronic elements. And over the course of the records, we've done that to different degrees. I think that basically, yeah. With the last couple of records, we've been much more hands-on in the recording. Part of that's down to Justin being the band, because he's not bad at that kind of stuff.
I'm not bad. I'm alright at that.
And then.
But I think that's a very English thing, though, right? It's not that bad.
It's not that bad.
It's like when you ask someone, like, "Hi, how are you?"
You don't want to be sincere.
Yeah. How are you?
If you're sincere, if you're like sincere about.
I just can't do it. Whenever someone says to me, "Not so bad," I'm like, "Are you okay?" I'm very dramatic. It's like, "No, yeah." I mean, what's going on though? I mean, because if we're in the bad zone, I know you're just messing around.
I think it's like that lack of comfort with being overly like emotional, or just emotionally familiar with something. Like just in conversation. Like, well, actually, if you ask, if someone says, "How are you doing?" I always find it weird in America. Like people just say, "How are you?" Like you look like a waitress.
Yeah.
I'm fine actually, and they don't even listen to the reply. It's just they're just saying hello. They're not saying how are you. They don't care how you are.
Yeah.
It's just like a part, like a speech.
Yeah, which is fine. But then, yeah. Anyway, what were we talking about?
I was reading a bit about it as well, like listening to the tracks and like the meaning behind it, and I think it's a bit more like it's deeper. It's more human, more like personal in a way.
I mean, all the lyrics for all the time, since day one, I've always tried to kind of delve or sing about things that are, I don't want to say deep, but you know what I mean, like to try to resonate with people on an emotional level. So that is what some people like about the band. It's what some people hate about the band. But it's always been the way. With this set of songs, yeah, I mean, it felt like I was coming back to this idea of human connection and people kind of, I don't know, focusing on the importance of that in light of the world that we live in right now, you know what I mean? And the way that the happenings of the world, the way that we're exposed to them, the way that it's kind of like, obviously the violent things that go on the news and things are obviously disturbing and horrible, but more than that, the way that the news is broadcast, the way that people's opinions, polarised opinions are just being shouted at, there's no nuance or grey area, and it's dizzying and tiring. When we were younger, you'd watch the news once a day. Now you can't escape these things.
So I saw that also you worked with Blank on
Blank Mass.
Yeah, on this album, and I know about him as well. I haven't met him personally, but I feel like he's great.
He has.
Oh, okay. But how was? I mean, because did you work together with this or?
Yeah, well, essentially, I rang him. It's a friend of mine's a friend of his, and we were listening to his record when we were making this record, and we thought, oh, wouldn't it be cool if he wanted to work with us? And he turned out he did. So I called him, set it up, and then whilst we were working on this record, he was working on it at the same time, remotely, up in Scotland, or wherever he was in the world at the time. And then it just kept on feeding back. And then we finished the record. And then I met him like 6 months later. It's a good way to work, especially when both parties are very busy doing stuff. I mean, he's always travelling, he's always touring, he's got his own records. And we were locked away in Oxford making this record. And it's quite refreshing to hear a new take on your music whilst you're working on your music. It's a very modern way of working, and it shaves off a ton of time, and then also it's a really strange place being in the studio, just the band, and it's kind of like an impenetrable group. You have all your interpersonal relationships with the band, you have your like musical relationships with the band. When someone comes into that, it can be quite odd. Like, it was odd when we went and finished the record with Leo, the other producer, because he was our age, and we're not used to that. Every record that I've made with other producers, and the band have made with other producers, those producers like they're a lot older and they've got a lot more experience.
There was like a father thing.
Yeah, and you're more willing to take on what they're going to say, because you're like, well, they've got wisdom and years of shit to back it up. And so we went in with Leo, and he's like our age, he's better than us at playing everything, and he's got a very musical mind, and it was difficult to start with. But then,
I mean, I'm sure you've got this kind of question before, but the name of the band has changed. Like, this is the fourth name, right, of the band?
Well, we had a couple of names. The one that was stuck of we were getting noticed when we were called Snowfield, but we didn't really like the name. And when labels started to come, we thought, well, we need to change that now. So we landed on Editors around the time we got signed. But nothing before that. It was just, I don't know. It's just like school bands with different names. You know what I mean? I wasn't a school band, but I don't know.
I think it's a very difficult thing to find like a name that
the names is the hardest. Is one of the hardest things about being in the band.
You've been in so many different band names.
I've been in so many different bands, but
You collect bands.
I collect band names, but I also torturously overthink band names to the point that it drives me a bit mad. I hate it. It's the worst part of being in the band, because once it's there, you're stuck. And if, like, I don't know, a year later, if you get shit, it's tough. Stuck with it.
I think the whole name thing is a problem, because even when I thought of my name for like the things I'm doing, I was like, I don't know what to be called. I don't want to use my name because it's too personal. And you know how it came? In my dream.
Well,
There you go. There you go. It's cosmic.
I was like, I think it was just like on my mind 24/7, like, what am I going to do? And seriously, I went to sleep one day, woke up, went on Twitter, I was like, fuck this! It was taken. I was like, fuck. So I just put an underscore in there. So I was like, okay. But I think you need to feel...
It's just tough. It's a tough thing to do.
It gets harder now because of the internet.
Yeah, everyone's got a name.
To have those things like, your social media names and things like that. Like, as soon as you are a style band and you get a name, it's like, oh, go on the internet. Oh, it's all gone. Everything's gone. So yeah, it's harder as time goes on.
Songs are gone, words are gone. It's all been used up. We need new language. Songs, emoji songs.
Yeah.
Just
pictures.
And okay, I want to talk a bit about the videos that you guys have, because I think they're really interesting. Like the way you've been, like you film them, they're kind of like dark, but they've got a lot of light to it as well. It's like the dark with the light. Can you tell me a bit about your like favorite videos? What was the best ones to like record and do?
I mean, so the last 2 albums worth of videos are all done by the same director. This guy called revolved. So we've gone on a journey with him, and he comes from a different world, quite a high-end fashion world. So it's not quite your average music director. So it's been really interesting getting to know him and him to get to know us, and we now feel comfortable. And we've done a few different things over the course of those records. One of the things I really remember was when we shot the front cover for In Dream. We had this enormous water tank.
Yeah.
So we were submerged in water with lasers firing through us. That was an interesting day.
We didn't really know we were going to do that either.
You never know quite what you're going to get with Rahi.
He quite likes using elements of things, like when we did the No Harm video.
That's my favourite of his
like,
videos.
All slow-mo, but then he's like blew this kind of, I don't know, what was it?
Flower?
Yeah, flower, basically, just in slow-mo, and it sort of slaps us in the face. And it's quite fun to do.
But are you prepared though? It's like you're going to be submerged in
you
water.
can never be prepared.
Rahi's first of all, he's a genius, and he lives very much inside his own head. And when we get things through that we're going to do with him, we get like a roundabout kind of
A few words.
English
isn't his first.
in English isn't, he's an Iranian. He's Iranian living in Holland, and I don't know. you kind of have to expect that what he's actually written is not what's going to happen.
You have to expect the unexpected.
Yeah, and you have to expect to get submerged in a water tank and have lasers shot in your face.
I remember the last one, Hallelujah, where we had which wasn't really in the video very much at all, but there was a rain machine at the end, and it was so cold. It was freezing. We were all shivering and shaking like shitting dogs. But yeah, just things like that is just very rawhy. When you turn up, you're like, oh, this is so rawhy.
But then he shows you on the monitor what he's recording.
It's always stunning.
And when was the time for each one of you? Like you had to like, I don't know, like for me very often like I have to pinch myself because I'm like, I don't know if this is like real.
Yeah, I mean, even like just hearing your song on the radio for the first time. That's cliche, but that is nuts when we all gathered around the radio listening to Zane Lowe and he played Bullets. We knew we had that, we were told he was probably going to play it, so you get there and that's, it's proper, that's...
I've even got goosebumps, seriously.
Yeah, well, it's nuts, isn't it? You know, like you dream of like... There are a few people, you know, that get to do their dream. It sounds cheesy, but to be able to do the thing that you're passionate about for a living, for want of a better word, is a very privileged position to be in. So to have your dream to kind of like come true is, of course, it's wonderful. I'm not sure you're pinching or anything like the guy.
I'm not. I kind of fall into.
Struggling.
You normally just go, what am I actually doing here?
How did I get here?
But probably the first big proper show we did, me and Elliott did, when we used to join the band, was a headline at a festival in Belgium called Rockworks. It was this massive, crazy big festival, and it was the band's first headline. And we rock up after like 6 weeks of practice and just...
Also, they came into the band after we'd fired Chris, so like the band had been in a really bad place for a while, you know, in the very dark, staring into the abyss. We'd made a decision, and these guys came in, and go on.
Yeah, and then we do a couple of like local shows in Birmingham, which are all right, rammed, and you know, and then we go off to Belgium to play this fucking enormous field of people, and you just kind of halfway through just like, what are we doing here? You know what I mean? It's a bit unreal. It doesn't really sink in until someone talks about it later, and you're like, oh shit, yeah.
It was the most significant.
Yeah, I think it's the most significant show I've ever played.
It was the most significant moment in the band's career, if you think of the whole story, because going through a breakup essentially, coming through that, you know, we started a new song in that which they'd been involved in creating.
It felt so slow.
It felt like the slowest song.
The adrenaline kicking in,
Yeah.
and it was just like, it was like slow motion for about 4 minutes of the song. I was like, oh my god, tripped in balls.
Yeah. It's a strange thing to experience, especially knowing the band for not very long, but knowing the history of the band and seeing the history of the band from an outsider.
Elliott came to see us as a punter when
It's
we
really
were
crazy.
early tours.
Yeah.
So it's really-
backroom, Manchester, to go from there.
But like as a fan?
Yeah.
As a fan.
Okay.
So it's really odd to like play this all-encompassing gig, which kind of hinges on the future of the band, because you didn't really know what we want to do.
If that goes badly, it's done.
Yeah, it's done. And now we're sat here, 6-7 years later, 3 albums later, we've done as many records now with us than the band had previously. So it's like, just thinking about it now, it's really weird that we get kind of all hinged on that. And it's like, but you don't think of it at the time, you just think, fuck.
I think that when people go through like a hard time in a way, there's always two ways of looking at the situation. So you can kind of like throw yourself in a hole, which is sometimes sounds kind of masochist, but like you have like you're in the dark and you're so in the dark that you just don't know what to do. And it's the time I think when you're most vulnerable, and it's happened to me before in different situations. And when I'm in that hole, I'm in the hole sometimes, and I'm like, okay, I can stay in the hole for as long as I want, or I can get out of the hole whenever I want. So I think that maybe like with you guys, I mean, going through a lot of things, like moving around, whatever, the albums and stuff.
Yeah.
After going through it, like a hard patch, it was the time to like just spread your wings and fly.
Yeah, you're right. Especially when you're trying to do something creative as well. If I was just being me on stage, everyone would be bored. So, yeah.
No, but I feel like even though you're not moving around, I mean, because there are some people that do the whole performance and dancing around and everything, but there are other people that can just stand there. And for me, like a massive example is Adele.
Right.
She's on there, just there. There's not like props and stuff
Yeah,
going on. She's there, and I mean, I've never seen her live, but if you see the videos,
there are people that are special like that. That's very, you know, if Bruce Springsteen walks into an arena, a stadium with an acoustic guitar, he feels it.
Yeah.
That's just him and a guitar, and it's not even about his voice, or not really about the song. It's just about his presence.
Yeah,
Nick Cave is a similar thing. It's a tricky thing to try to analyse because presence is.
You can't measure it really, can you? It's just who it is. That's how you get excited. You overanalyse things, you know. I overanalyse everything in like how.
No shit.
Just travelling and stuff. On stage, no,
I've seen you on stage with the guitar behind your head.
Yeah.
Like some fucking.
You just lose yourself on stage. So you become a character. You become
let go.
You become something else.
Yeah.
Even though you've got fucking tons of people staring at you, you do feel a little bit out of the body, which is good. It's a good place to be.
Well, it's been a pleasure, guys.
Yeah,
Thank you very much. Thank you for your time.
Cheers.
Thank you for opening up. Thank you.